Hello, everyone. I appreciate those who are taking the time to join us today. My name is Chris Caldwell, and as most of you probably know, I am the retirement plan consultant and one of the retirement plan consultants for Highland Trust Partners. I am excited to do this video and live Zoom for those of you who can join. I know that it is not there's never a good time of day. I've had a lot of people reach out and from HR departments as well as participants in 401k plans that we help manage, basically saying that they're looking for the recording for this series today or this episode today, as well as the other 5 series that have come to follow, just because it's impossible to have a good time of day to get together and do something like this. But we are going to keep it short. I wanted to make these only about 15 or so minutes long. That way that those who are ending their day from work can get home at a decent hour, pick up kids, do the things they got to do. Those who need to finish up their day have plenty of time to do that. So we won't go too long on any of these series. But as I said, gosh knows, if you've heard me talk before, I enjoy doing it. I like doing these education sessions a lot. So it is exciting to be able to put this together, and I tend to do more of these as time goes on. So hopefully you'll be on the invitations to participate. And with that, this is not necessarily just for you as an employee of maybe a plan that we manage. This is for your spouse, maybe it's your adult kids, if you have those who are working and have are trying to put together retirement savings for themselves, friends, family. So when you get the video, I'll send these when the video is published. I'll send it out to HR groups or those who are managing in your businesses, and hopefully they'll email those around to everybody, and you can share that with whoever you want to. Don't feel like it's just for you. This is for everybody. I think everybody needs to spend a little bit more time understanding why they should stay on a retirement track. So with that, I want to remind you that we're here for you. So when you have questions, please ask. The chat room is open, so if somebody has a question during the next 15 or so minutes, please chat it in, and I will at the end, I'll look in and finally go over to the chat room and see if there's anything that anybody wants to ask specifically about something I talked about or that I maybe missed or maybe need to explain a little bit further. So that is available for you today as well. So, the purpose of this is just to share information and to make sure that you understand that we're open to talk. Okay, so you should have my contact information. I'll have a slide at the end of this to give that to everybody again, in case you don't. So be sure and write that down. Again, it's going to be on the video too, so it's not like you can't. First, I have to put our disclosures up, disclaimers from compliance regulations, and make sure you have time to see those, and hope you read fast. So for the next 6 months, starting today, the next 5 months after August, these will be the topics that I will go over in these 15 or so minute sessions. Today is about what is saving for retirement. Going forward, I've already put, and you can go and put this on your calendar if you want to. I'll send these around, invites or reminders again to your companies. On the 13th of September, it will be how do you know if enough is enough? That will be our topic for the 13th of September, and pretty much the middle part of every month going from there. We'll do the next topic in line here. So as you can see, as I mentioned, we'll go a little bit below the surface and get a little deeper on some of these. But it's not going to go incredibly deep, obviously, for sake of it may not apply to everybody or be as important to everybody to go that deep with each of these topics, as well as time constraints. I don't want to take up too much of your time on these series, because I know that, in studies, if you've ever looked at studies on presentations, you've already zoned out. I think the average attention span is less than a minute for presentations. So hopefully you're still engaged to this point. So basically, we're gonna live on this slide for a few minutes. And what is saving for retirement? Well, if you've heard me talk one-on-one with you, or we've done this in a group session before, why do we need a retirement plan anyway? What is the purpose of having retirement savings for? I mean, and it's to cover a gap. There's going to be, if you plan, and I don't really like the word retirement. So, it's basically like it's a transition in life. Retirement is out to pasture. It's an into something. Most people, they may not work at their current jobs anymore, but they don't just retire and do nothing. Like people would think that's in their head. They go sit on the beach for the next 20 years or sit on their porch for the next 20 years. People don't do that. But if we do plan to stop our careers at some point, there's going to be that's a time period that income for at least that part ends, right? So you whether you're a 1099 employee or W-2 employee, you're going to stop receiving that income from that job that you're currently at. So saving for this transition, let's not say retirement, is basically getting ready to cover that gap. And what the gap is, everything on that left, making sure you have enough resources for things such as these. It's not cookie cutter to everybody. I think that's the biggest thing I try to preach when I get in front of groups or individuals, is to let them know that you and your family situation is unique. It may have a lot of similarities to everybody's or to others similar to you, but it's still unique. It's yours. You're different than everybody else. We all are. Our closest friends, even our family members, our brothers and sisters, we're different in a lot of cases how we run our households and run our lives. We're just different. We got to make sure that as we prepare for us, not prepare for what everybody else in the world is doing around us. So that's why when people, when you can read books, you can watch TV personalities who talk about this, that's fine. But the premise is to understand that, take some of that information and go, how do I make sure that that cookie cutter knowledge that they're sharing, I can design it and tweak it to fit my family and my household. That's incredibly important to make sure you're successful in this transition in your life. We all need to analyze our own family situation. As I said, we're all a little bit different, and our families are different. And this is generationally. So and I'll talk about this in a second again, but as we talk about looking at ourselves, our own household, our husbands, our wives, our that are people living under our roof, we need to also think about, well, who else in our world, in our bubble, can affect our transition years. Is it our parents? Is it our children, our grandchildren, our friends, our communities? There are other factors involved in whether we're successful or not in retirement. That goes into determining how you save and what you do in preparation for these transition years. So we have to make sure we individualize this to ourselves. So as we talk about the easy things that you'll see in books and TV shows and from the experts, or what expenses are you going to have to cover? Now, some of these are you could come up with without somebody like me putting these on a PowerPoint, but you obviously have to. There's going to be household expenses that are going to continue into retirement. You need to understand what those are. You've heard me probably talk about creating a budget. And I tell people, don't let that scare you. Your budget is not designed, in my mind, it's not designed to say, I spend this on this, maybe I spend too much, I need to cut it back, I need to stop having fun doing these things, I need to penny pinch on this. That's not what I'm talking about. It's basically just understand where your money is going on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis. Just have an understanding of that. Sometimes it takes a year or 2 or 3 to really get that down to a good number, because things change over the years. But just understand what you spend your money on. Once you understand just the basics of running a household and what you spend your money on, you identify, and sometimes people have to hire folks like me to help you do this, but you identify the things that are going to continue through your working years and into your retirement years. What things will go forward later? What do we think will be reduced? What will go forward? That's why sometimes it's good to talk to people who are older or in this profession that we're in planning, is because we've seen people in transitions. Many people go through transitions, so we can kind of understand how some expenses change for for different types of people. Again, it depends on, your individualized expenses, but we can kind of give a better number, at least on that point. Now, once you understand how to keep your household running into transition years, you got to understand the things that you spend money on that you enjoy, that you enjoy. What I hate hearing are people who are in their late 50s, early 60s, and say either one, they got to work longer than they wanted to, or two, when they stop working, they can't do the things they've always wanted to do because they don't have the money to do it. So come up with lists of things that you enjoy, lists of things that you want to enjoy, maybe. And you don't have to wait till you're 50 to do this, or even 40. You can do this throughout your life, and they adjust. But come up with the things that makes you happy and your family happy, not just you. Again, it's a family unit with this. What makes you happy, and what would you want to make sure that you continue through the rest of your life? Those have to be factored into how you get ready for those transition years at a younger age, so you can, whether it's saving money or just doing the things you need to do to prepare. Make sure you understand the expenses that may occur for healthcare. So things like, as I put on this, prescription drug cost, co-pays, supplies that people use in retirement years. Now, if you're not retired yet, or you're younger, you don't understand what a lot of those are. Ask somebody who is. Talk to your parents, talk to friends who are older, ask them what they spend their money on, what these things cost on an ongoing basis, or people like us who talk to people about it all the time. And we can give an idea of what those expenses can be, and they may not be. Hopefully they don't, but I always say prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So what they can be later in life, and then we can make sure we have enough and we're prepared to cover those. And then the expenses for the emergencies. These are the things we hope never happens. But if they do, we've got a cushion. We've done enough through our working years that we have a buffer to make sure that if there's repair, and there's always going to be repairs on something, but repairs on the house, repairs on cars, repairs on whatever it is, long-term care. I mean, that's a big one we talk about with people, particularly they have longevity in their lives from their parents and grandparents and great-grandparents, and they may live to be that old. There's a higher probability for needing a long-term care, and so you're going to need money or insurance to cover those expenses, because it is expensive. And then mobility, that's the cost of things like what I go through with helping my mother, paying for wheelchairs and medical beds, and the things that's not going to be covered under Medicare, just to help come out of pocket for stuff like that. And you got to understand, when I say extended family, I mentioned my mother. It's not just you again. It's are your parents healthy? Do your parents have assets to cover their expenses, or insurance? If they don't, do you have to come out of pocket potentially for them? That's a conversation I have for somebody before you retire, for sure. It's really a conversation to have with your parents before you can get close, so you can start preparing financially, maybe to fund some of the kids. Are the same way. Do you have kids that, are they going to be successful? Do they have good jobs? Are they hardworking? Could there be, God forbid, issues with substances, or God forbid, being failed marriages? And so parents come out of pocket all the time to help children as they go through emergencies and issues in their life. So even though that's not technically our retirement or transition savings, it's still a hard call is when you're not working, earning a paycheck anymore, and a kid calls and says, I'm going through an awful divorce. I really need X money to cover me for a period of time. It is tough. And I have that conversation with clients a good bit. So what saving or preparing for transition years also includes is not just your 401k plan, which is why we're on this call today, or how we connected to be on this call today. It's about what your spouse is doing, and then make sure they're doing the right things as well, which is why I said share these things with family. Whatever outside retirements to savings that you have through Roth or IRAs or Simples or SEPs, if you do those, your health savings accounts, if you have the ability to save in a health savings account, that could potentially, if you're not using it for the current year, like an FSA, this is an HSA, and you want to roll it year over year over year and let it build, that can cover some of the expenses for health and retirement, as well as some of the health emergencies down the road too. It's a great retirement savings tool, besides just a 401k or another type of retirement vehicle. Do you have equity in your home? I always talk to people about making sure their mortgage is paid off. Try to pay the mortgage off before they retire. One, because they don't owe the bank any money. Two, is that they have more equity in the house in case it's an emergency situation or they need to pay for long-term care or something like that. They have the equity to help do that. Whether they're taxable accounts or investment accounts, are you putting money away for? Do you have the right insurance? You may or may not need any life or any long-term care insurance, but it's good to analyze your personal situation and make sure, know what Social Security is going to do for you. I think we all look at that. Make sure that the period you pick, whether it's early Social Security or full age or extended, after 70, make sure you're picking the one that suits you the best. There's some decisions you can make that you can't go back on. So double check and help somebody, or you run the math, or have somebody help you run the math to make sure you're making the right selection there. Again, you don't necessarily think about that when you're 40, but as you head closer to retirement age, which is going to be one of our sessions later, we'll discuss that a little bit more. And then pension, if you do have a pension, which a lot of people don't these days, but if somebody in your family, you might not, but maybe a spouse does, at their position where they work, just see what that's like, see what the pension benefits are, and what things you need to think about in order to make your cash flow correct in retirement year. So all this is basically, again, learning more about you and spending time knowing you. I would advise everybody to take an hour to 2 hours a year. I mean, you could do it more than that. And as you age, you probably should, but I would say whether you're 25 or 65, take an hour, 2 hours a year, sit down and look through these. And once maybe the first time you do it's going to take longer than that, but if you stay regular with it, an hour or two is about all you need to really catch up on things. Why start saving now? Well, I mean, these speak for themselves. I may put this slide up every presentation that we do, every episode, but a lot of people aren't. A lot of regardless of what generation they live in, they're worried about retirement. And of course, they worry about it more lately with inflation, the way it's gone, that may carry on for longer than people are predicting. They need to plan to live. I want people to understand their genetics again. They have longevity in their family, prepare to live long. If I don't have my family doesn't have long genetics, but I'm still preparing and getting to live longer than my family did or has, just in case. I hope to, and I hope if I do, I'm prepared for that. Right? I don't want to cheat myself or cheat my family. Current expenses continue retirement, as we talked about. Social Security will only cover a portion. So I think everybody knows that. It's not, for most people, Social Security is not going to pay for everything. Healthcare costs go up. They escalate for retirees. People talk about Medicare as far as health coverage in retirement, which is great. However, Medicare does not cover everything. I mean, people are shocked sometimes when they file for Medicare and they realize it doesn't cover everything they thought it would. Those are the things you need to think about well ahead of 65 when it's time to put your application in for Medicare. And the biggest thing I can say to folks is you don't want to rely on family. I mean, the worst, mom, and a personal example really on this one, as I'm helping my mother with healthcare costs because they didn't have enough to do what was needed with their really poor health, my father and my mother. But now that my mother is a widow and needs a lot of help with a lot of things, is really expensive. So we have to come, and we're happy to. We have to come out of pocket to help pay a lot of her things, and she is in tears apologetic to us every time we send her a check or pay for a caregiver or something like that, wishing that they had done different or done better, either take care of themselves on health or just making sure they had enough savings built up where they didn't have to ask their children to help them with that. And I see that a lot too, not just in my family. So if we can take care of ourselves without having to ask our children to help us, it's a huge win for us. It's to have a successful transition. So with that, that's basically the first episode of Stay on Retirement Track. As I said, I'm going to keep it short. Hope that gave some good information to you to kind of chew on a little bit. Again, it wasn't super in depth. I could easily go deeper. If you would like to have any other or need to ask any other questions, this is our website's listed. HTP@HighlandTrustPartners.com is our office's email address. You can reach us all at that address. And a disclaimer, I'm gonna be out of office a little bit on a trip so that may be the best place to start is with the HTP address, because anybody can get back with you. Our office phone number. And again, if we can help you, let us know. We'll send the video out from today at some point in the very, very near future. And you can share that with anybody that you like. At this time, I don't see anything in chat. So with that, it's a little longer than a minute to be, about 5 minutes longer. So I'm going to end it here. I hope you have a great day. And I hope you have a great experience, either tweaking what you're doing for your transition years or starting. Hopefully, if you've not started, please do that. And I hope to see you at the next episode on September the 13th. Thank you, folks. Y'all have a great day.